listening to the Taking New Ground 21-Day Fasting and Prayer podcast from Pleasant Valley Baptist Church. Today's reading comes from the book of Joshua, chapters 11 through 13. Chapter 11. When King Jabin of Hazor heard this news, he sent a message to King Jobab of Madon, the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and the kings of the north in the hill country, the Arabah south of the Chinnereth, the Judean foothills, and the slopes of Dor to the west, the Canaanites in the east and west, the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the hill country, and the Hivites at the foot of Hermon in the land of Mizpah. They went out with all their armies, a multitude as numerous as the sand on the seashore, along with a vast number of horses and chariots. All these kings joined forces. They came and camped together at the waters of Merom to attack Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, for at this time tomorrow I will cause all of them to be killed before Israel. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and all his troops surprised them at the waters of Merom and attacked them. The Lord handed them over to Israel, and they struck them down, pursuing them as far as Greater Sidon and Mizrapoth-Maim, and to the east as far as the valley of Mizpah. They struck them down, leaving no survivors. Joshua treated them as the Lord had told him. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time Joshua turned back, captured Hazor, and struck down its king with the sword, because Hazor had formerly been the leader of all these kingdoms. They struck down everyone in it with the sword, completely destroying them. He left no one alive. Then he burned Hazor. Joshua captured all these kings and their cities and struck them down with the sword. He completely destroyed them, as Moses the Lord's servant had commanded. However, Israel did not burn any of the cities that stood on their mounds except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites plundered all the spoils and cattle of these cities for themselves, but they struck down every person with the sword until they had annihilated them, leaving no one alive. Just as the Lord had commanded his servant Moses, Moses commanded Joshua. That is what Joshua did, leaving nothing undone of all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took all this land, the hill country, all the Negev, all the land of Goshen, the foothills, the Arabah, and the hill country of Israel with its foothills, from Mount Halak, which ascends to Seir, as far as Baal-Gad, in the valley of Lebanon, at the foot of Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Joshua waged war with all these kings for a long time. No city made peace with the Israelites, except the Hivites who inhabited Gibeon. All of them were taken in battle. For it was the Lord's intention to harden their hearts, so that they would engage Israel in battle, be completely destroyed without mercy, and be annihilated, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua proceeded to exterminate the Anakim from the hill country, Hebron, Debir, Anab, and all the hill country of Judah and of Israel. Joshua completely destroyed them with their cities. No Anakim were left in the land of Israelites, except for some remaining in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. So Joshua took the entire land, in keeping with all that the Lord had told Moses. Joshua then gave it as an inheritance to Israel, according to their tribal allotments. After this, the land had rest from war. Chapter 12. The Israelites struck down the following kings of the land, and took possession of their land beyond the Jordan to the east and from the Arnon River to Mount Hermon, including all of the Arabah eastward. King Sihon of the Amorites lived in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon River, along the middle of the valley, and half of Gilead up to the Jabbok River, the border of the Ammonites. The Arabah east of the Sea of Chinnereth to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, eastward through Beth Jeshimoth, and southward below the slopes of Pisgah. King Og of Bashan, of the remnant of the Rephaim, lived in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salakah, all Bashan up to the Geshurite and Maacathite border, and half of Gilead to the border of King Sihon of Heshbon. Moses the Lord's servant and the Israelites struck them down, and Moses the Lord's servant gave their land as an inheritance to the Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh. Joshua and the Israelites struck down the following kings of the land beyond the Jordan to the west, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which ascends towards Seir. Joshua gave their land as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel, according to their allotments: the hill country, the Judean foothills, the Arabah, the slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev, the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is next to Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tappuah, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron Meron, 1. The king of Akshaph, 1. The king of Taanach, 1. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in Naphath Dor, 1. The king of Goyim in Gilgal, 1. The king of Tirzah, 1. The total number of all kings, 31. Chapter 13. Joshua was now old, advanced in age, and the Lord said to him, "You have become old, advanced in age, but a great deal of the land remains to be possessed. This is the land that remains. All the districts of the Philistines and the Geshurites, from Shihor east of Egypt to the border of Ekron on the north, considered to be the Canaanite territory. The 5 Philistine rulers of Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, as well as the Avites in the south. All the land of the Canaanites, from Arat of the Sidonians to Athek, and as far as the border of the Amorites. The land of the Gebalites, and all Lebanon east from Baal-Gad below Mount Hermon to the entrance of Hamath. All the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon to Mizrephoth-Maim, all the Sidonians. I will drive them out before the Israelites, only distribute the land as an inheritance for Israel, as I have commanded you. Therefore divide this land as an inheritance to the 9 tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh. With the other half of the tribe of Manasseh, the Reubenites and Gadites had received the inheritance Moses gave them beyond the Jordan, to the east, just as Moses the Lord's servant had given them. From Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Valley, along the city in the middle of the valley, all the Medeba plateau as far as Dibon, and all the cities of King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, to the border of the Ammonites. Also Gilead, the territory of the Geshurites and Maacathites, all Mount Hermon, and all Bashan to Salecah, the whole kingdom of Og in Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He was one of the remaining Rephaim. Moses struck them down and drove them out, but the Israelites did not drive out the Geshurites and Maacathites, so Gesher and Maacath still live in Israel today. He did not, however, give any inheritance to the tribe of Levi. This was their inheritance, just as he had promised, the offerings made by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel. To the tribe of Reuben's descendants by their clans, Moses gave this as their territory. From Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Valley, along with the city in the middle of the valley, the whole plateau as far as Medeba, with Heshbon and all its cities on the plateau, Dibon, Bamoth Baal, Beth Baal Maon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mepaath, Kiriathaim, Sibmah, Zereth Shahar on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshemoth, all the cities of the plateau, and all the kingdom of King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. Moses had killed him and the chiefs of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the princes of Sihon who lived in the land. Along with those the Israelites put to death, they also killed the diviner, Balaam son of Beor, with the sword. The border of the Reubenites was the Jordan and its plain. This was the inheritance of the Reubenites by their clans, with the cities and their settlements. To the tribe of the Gadites by their clans, Moses gave this as their territory: Jazer and all the cities of Gilead, and half the land of the Ammonites to Aroer, near Rabbah, from Heshbon to Ramath Mizpah and Betnim, and from Mahanaim to the border of Debir, in the valley, Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, the rest of the kingdom of King Sihon of Heshbon. Their land also included the Jordan and its territory as far as the edge of the Sea of Chinnereth, on the east side of the Jordan. This was the inheritance of the Gadites by their clans, with the cities and their settlements. And to the half-tribe of Manasseh, that is, to the half-tribe of Manasseh's descendants by their clans, Moses gave this as their territory: from Mahanaim through all Bashan, all the kingdom of King Og of Bashan, including all of Jair's villages that are in Bashan, 60 cities. But half of Gilead, and Og's royal cities in Bashan, Ashtaroth and Edrei, are for the descendants of Machir son of Manasseh, that is, half the descendants of Machir by their clans. These were the portions Moses gave them on the plains of Moab beyond the Jordan east of Jericho. But Moses did not give a portion to the tribe of Levi. The Lord, the God of Israel, was their inheritance, just as he had promised them. Today's devotional thought is remembering what God has done in your world. In your prayer time today, take time to recall how God has revealed himself in other places around the world. Spend some time thanking God for your church and the way he has used PV to advance his kingdom, not only locally, but around the world. To hear a great story of how God has used PVers just like you to share the gospel, head over to our YouTube channel and watch Doug and Mackenzie Thompson's story on how God has used them through missions. This has been the Taking New Ground 21-Day Prayer and Fasting Podcast. Make sure to join us at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church on Sunday, March 24th at 5 p.m. for our night of prayer and worship, a chance to celebrate and reflect on all that God has done these past 21 days. For more information about the Taking New Ground initiative, please visit takingnewground.church. For more information about Pleasant Valley Baptist Church, please visit pleasantvalley.org or visit us online at any of our social media channels.